Welcome to Expats Everywhere. Can you tell me your name, where you're from, and a little bit about yourself?
My name is John. I'm from Massachusetts. I've been teaching ESL for 5 years, and right now I'm in Saudi Arabia.
Okay, so you're in Saudi Arabia right now, but what other countries have you worked in?
I worked in Ukraine for 2 years, Colombia for 1 year, and Taiwan for 1 year.
Okay, what was Colombia like?
Colombia is a beautiful country. It's a great place to live. Not too sure about the cuisine there. It's very heavy if you like meat and beans. Um, as far as the working situation goes, it depends on adult education or elementary education, because the elementary schools will work you very hard and pay you maybe $1,000 a month.
Okay, so which one did you work at?
Well, I tried I was in Bogota, and I tried a school it was right outside Bogota, but you had to meet and get into the bus, which took 45 minutes to get there. There were 40 students in the class, and um, it was a long day, like 6 till 5, round trip with everything. I guess you could live out there, but there's not much to do. And also, the kids were spoiled, rich, so entitled, all of that. So there were no good things about that job. So I only did that for 1 day.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, those jobs are there if you want them, but be careful, unless you want to end up overworked in paradise, because that's pretty much what is happening in Colombia. But then I taught adults, and adults, the pay is not much better, maybe $10 or $15 an hour, but you can choose your hours and build up enough where you can make a living. Not too much money though.
Okay, and teaching adults, was it like at a university or was it an academy and the adults applied to learn there, or what was that like?
It was just at the company, so I would take the bus or a taxi or walk to the company, then meet at a specified time, have a lesson, which was usually conversation, because adults already have been through all of the grammar, and if you go to them with a book, that's not really what they want. So they're looking for more for interaction and things like that.
Okay, and did you like that job?
It was fun. The people were great. It was a great way to meet people your own age, and they're friendly. They'll always invite you places after, so it's a great way to really immerse in the society. Colombians are very nice, and I definitely want to go back, but I don't know if it's the best place to make a high salary.
Okay, so did you find either of these jobs before you went to Colombia, or you went to Colombia and then found the jobs?
I found the first job, the job I went to for 1 day with they're probably the worst age group too, by the way, 13 and 14-year-olds, So I went to that job for 1 day, and I had applied for that online. But the other stuff, I just checked out job postings while I was there. I think that's the easiest way to get a job. If you want to live somewhere, you just have to go there, and there will be opportunities.
Okay, and the visa process was easy once you were already there?
No, the visa process in Colombia is pretty complicated. Well, the school that I was working for, they wanted me to take a bus to Ecuador, which was, well, not a bus, but go to Quito. The cheapest way to get to Quito is by a bus, because the flight is too expensive. And all out of pocket, by the way, out of your own pocket, and get the visa there. So that was not really an option. It was more of a tourist visa thing, which was under the table and a lot more sketchy. You can get the visa, but it takes a little bit of traveling around and it's not cheap to travel in South America compared to Southeast Asia.
Okay. So getting paid under the table, is this common in Colombia?
I would say it's common in many places around the world. Like it's probably a good side income. I wouldn't say it's freelancing is probably not the best way to survive. Like it shouldn't be the main income. It could be a secondary income, but there's always private lessons available.
Okay. So we were talking about money a little earlier. How much did you say that you made, or what's a typical salary for a month?
Well, I was working for these guys. These guys I was working for, by the way, were not prepared at all. A couple 20-year-old, a British guy and an American, and they sent me to this class. I taught lawyers, a couple from Peru, and aviation engineers, and I would go to meet them at their place. No transportation covered, and maybe $10 an hour, and zero preparation done by them. They wouldn't give you any material. So, well, he did give me a one-page Word document for what I was supposed to do. It was kind of comical, like, so I ended up doing what I had to do, but I probably made $800 or $900 a month working in Colombia.
Okay.
Not a lot of money.
That's not a lot. So is that enough to live off of? To live comfortably, or?
It depends on where you want to live. In the nice part of Colombia, or nice part of Bogota, and I would say Medellin. I don't know if I say that correctly, even though I've lived there for a while. It's kind of depends on where you live. Bogota's got a really poor population. You can get an apartment for cheaper, but it's difficult when you're an expat compared to other countries. And so you can rent with a friend type of situation, and it's about $500 a month to rent. So, or $400 with food if you live with somebody.
Okay, so you might have a possibility of saving?
Yeah, maybe $100, $200 a month you can save if you were on a pretty good budget, but entertainment is pretty pricey there. And the other problem is that Bogota it's a beautiful city inside of some mountains. So everything that comes into Bogota comes in through the roads, and it takes a long time to get there from the coast and it's expensive. So that's why the prices are a little higher than in Peru or Venezuela, maybe even Chile. But I haven't been to those countries yet.
Okay. All right, so earlier you were saying to just go to the country and you find a job that way. So if someone wants to do that, how much money should they have in their bank account or bring with them to do that?
Well, I went down there with about $1,500, $2,000. I think any country you want to go to, you should bring at least $2,000, and that's after your flight. So.
And that was sufficient?
If you plan on working, if you plan on just traveling and maybe working part time, then you should probably bring more than that, like $3,000 or $4,000 to be safe.
Okay. What should someone pack? What's the weather like?
It's hot, but not too hot because it's in the mountains, so it's an elevated climate, and it rains a lot because it'll downpour, so you need an umbrella. If you want to walk around the city, you should have an umbrella. And you will walk around because it's a nice place to walk around.
How cold does it get in the winter?
Well, I guess I was there in the winter, but it's really near the equator because I was in the southern hemisphere, and yeah.
So mild winters?
Yeah,
not too cold?
It wasn't really a winter because it's the rainforest. It's really tropical. A lot of exotic species there. Once you go down from the mountain, so the climate's pretty much ideal. I think that's what I like the most about Colombia, with the scenery and the climate.
Okay, if someone just wants to pack light, can they get everything they need there as far as clothing goes?
Yeah, I think you wouldn't need. Yeah, just pack your, if you can, your toiletries or um, things that you would need because otherwise they're going to get expensive there. They're more expensive than you would pay in any other country. But yeah, you can buy clothes there. There's a lot of markets and interesting places to go. So it's the culture is really modern as well. Like you will, or I did see some indigenous people who were homeless on the streets of Bogota, but that's kind of part of the transition, I guess. But it's a very modern society with a lot of cool people.
Okay, so is there anything that someone should definitely pack that they won't be able to find there?
Uh,
Toiletries, food, clothing, anything like that?
well, I don't know. I don't. I guess it depends on what you want for conveniences. Like, bring any electronics with you because you're going to end up paying more um, anywhere else. Pretty much, I think best place to buy electronics is in the West. You know, so um, besides that, though, I think everything can be found there. And Colombia, uh, there's a lot of things to do outside, so anything that has to do with outdoors. And bring sunscreen. Sunscreen is very important.
Okay, can you get sunscreen there or is it expensive?
It's expensive.
Okay.
I learned that by walking up the mountain in La Candelaria. You can walk up or you can take the gondola up. And I walked up. It took like 2 hours. But then it was like $25 for aloe.
So you got burnt.
Oh yeah, 20, and the sunscreen. Like after that, after learning my lesson, was probably another $20. It was pretty expensive. It was like $50 for two things.
Wow, okay, so sunscreen and aloe.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, let's change gears a little bit and talk about safety. Is Colombia safe?
Yes and no. Obviously, there's danger everywhere, wherever you go. But they still have some kind of dispute between the government and the, if you want to call them the cartel, they're not really the cartel. It's something different. It's a long story. I remember being told about it during my lessons. You know, that's what English lessons are. Just ask the adult to tell you stories. And so, I mean, other than that, in Bogota, there's dangerous neighborhoods. Taxi drivers are sketchy, but I think that's true in a lot of places. You have to be careful when you get into a taxi.
Okay. As a whole, did you feel safe walking around during the day and at night?
I did at night, just not as safe because there are in Bogota. Bogota is probably the exception to the rest of Colombia. But if you're out at night, anyways, too late after like 11 o'clock, then things can get dicey.
Okay. How did you meet people?
Well, I lived in a hostel to begin with, and just for like 5 days when I first got down there, and met a few people who were staying down there as well. And also, when I moved into this lady's house who was renting out her house to university students, so I got a house in a nice part of Bogota, and through my students as well, and working with people. One guy I worked for, Roberto, he was very nice. He took me out to lunch. We went golfing, did a few things together. So you make friends with the people you work with, I guess.
Okay. What kinds of things did you do for fun?
Tried to learn how to salsa, I guess,
Oh.
which is impossible, but worth trying to learn.
Do you want to show us?
No way. And just I played basketball once a week. There was a good basketball game. Outdoor sports, hiking. You can And also, there's a lot of bus rides that will bring you down. I never got to the rainforest. I wish I did, but supposedly there's a lot to see down there in terms of animals, like pink dolphins in the river and things like that. So,
And how far is that from Bogota on a bus? How long would
I
that
would
take?
say anywhere. Like if you wanted to go to Lima or something, there's buses, but they take like 17 hours or something.
Okay.
And so, if you go off the beaten path to some of these exotic locations, you just have to research the map in Colombia. So,
Would you say that Colombia is a good travel hub?
I would say that I would want to spend another year in Colombia because it's a great place to be. The climate's perfect, and the people are nice. Spanish is an easy language compared to Russian or Chinese or Arabic.
Mm-hmm.
You know, my other experiences. So I would say, yeah, like travel and live. If you want to live comfortably, the more money you can bring, the better. But most expats, I guess, or most travelers don't have a ton of money. Depends on how hard you work. Probably have to work to set up something for yourself.
Well, to sum things up, what are some pros and cons of living in Colombia?
The pros are the climate and the conveniences, I guess, and just the scenery. The cons, uh, the food quality is not very good or very expensive. It is expensive. I mean, it's very expensive and it's very heavy. So that would be one con, and then another con. Um, in particular, Bogota is a huge city. It can take you easily 1 hour to get from one part of the city to another, and maybe longer to some parts. So it's not easy to get around.
Awesome. Well, John, thank you so much for telling Expats Everywhere about Colombia today.
All right, thank you.